Hi, I'm Dr. James Shea. I'm the portfolio leader for all of the postgraduate teacher education courses we run here at the University of Bedfordshire in our Bedford campus. So as a member of staff at a university, you've got a range of things that you do. So you've got your student-facing thing, where I'll be in a lecture theatre and I'll be lecturing. Perhaps a student at the back will put their hand up and have a question, a clarification question. I can't hear what that student is asking. That's really very difficult. Even sometimes if they raise their voice, they're too far away and the light's too poor for me to lip read, and then the sound is really too tiny for me to understand what they're saying. So that's complicated. And that's in a silent room. Now, if you go into a university seminar, it's actually noisy. Lots of students are talking to each other, and then a student will ask you a question, and all you can hear is the background noise. So from a teaching perspective, that's challenging. Or when I'm working with fellow staff in an office or in a meeting, and we are looking at documentation towards the course and getting it organised, and they will say, let's look at this document together. Now, the moment I look at the document and I look down, I can no longer listen through the lip reading. So what people will do is they will talk through the document, and I can either look at them or I can look at the document. It's exceptionally hard. That's why I have to have an assistant who's supplied from Access to Work, and what she does is she helps me by taking notes and assisting me when I get those difficult situations. Similar when you're chairing a meeting. So often the chairs will be making notes and doing things as they're chairing the meeting, and so what I do is I have the assistant who is keeping the minutes and keeping notes for me while I am chairing. Or even if I go to a conference, which is a really challenging thing for me, if you have the assistant who can be taking the notes, so when you miss things, you can ask the assistant, what was that? And they can be typing that onto the laptop next to you. So there are ways around it, but you definitely need support if you are going to be working in a university with hearing loss. Some of the things you've got to do if you want to make it easier for yourself with hearing loss is to think about the fact that you need everyone facing you and you need good light on their faces. So if you have light coming from the wrong direction, say for example behind the students, then all that happens is their faces are silhouetted and you can't make it out. So if you have the light behind you, then that makes it much better, the light's on the students' faces. Now what if they're all facing different directions? Then you're going to have the same kind of issue. So what we do is we set the room up with all the desks facing towards the front of where the teacher is, and we make sure that the light is shining on their faces. Or if the light is coming from behind, we pull the blinds down and we put the artificial lighting on to make that clearer. And then in terms of the way that the room's set out, you need to be able to move around the room so you can get closer to the student so that you can see them and you can hear with a little bit of sound that you get that much better. Sometimes the room layout can be really difficult for circulation, so that you can't get around the room particularly well. So you need to be able to get around the room well, you need to have the light on the students, not on to you, and then you need to be thinking about having them all face the same direction so that you can quickly see if somebody's got their hand up or if somebody is talking to you. If you say James in the classroom, I'm not going to hear you across the room, only if I see your hand up. So if I have you all in my vision, then I'll see if you put your hand up. That's how it works. So the university has worked with me to try and make sure I am included. When we set up a meeting or when we set up some kind of working party, they'll ask me, where do I need to sit? Where do other people need to sit? What do we need to do with the lighting to ensure those are on the right kind of optimum levels for me? And then if there is an issue with perhaps, being able to look at documentation and listen to people at the same time, they'll make sure I'm supported and having my assistant come along to help me with taking those notes. There are some things I can't do. For example, every year we're supposed to do clearing, and that means taking phone calls, and because I cannot do that, I do different types of recruitment work. So there are adaptations in place to ensure that where there are challenges for me, we find workarounds, supportive ideas, or indeed alternative types of work which I find less challenging. Growing up with a hearing loss and coming to education is exceptionally challenging. The reality is, if you have the kind of profound loss that I have, then the ordinary educational outcomes are often very low. And yet, there I was in top sets for all of my subjects, wanting to really do well, and there was the school unable to support that. There was no Senkos, no teaching assistants. Teachers really didn't understand what to do. I would be sat at the back of a class where I couldn't hear, or the teachers would face the board and talk into the board. It was exceptionally hard. And yet I still was very, very keen on my academic work. And in the end, I was able to get the A levels I needed to go to university. And when I got to university, I found similar kinds of problems. I'd be in a big lecture theatre and you can't hear the lecturer. And the lecturer would be too far away or would not have a very good voice. And it was incredibly challenging to try and undertake that degree where, in fact, you're not able to hear your lecturers and yet you're still expected to do all the academic assessments. But I'm pleased to say I was able to do all of that, and here's Nero, I was able to do all of that and continuing to my postgraduate work where I've done several postgraduate qualifications, a master's in education and a doctorate in education. So in some ways, although it was very difficult coming through school and university, I've been able to overcome those obstacles and still ensure I get all the qualifications I needed to undertake the role I do now at the university. When COVID came and we were all suddenly working from home, I was really very worried, and indeed the first couple of weeks it was really, really difficult because all you're seeing is a little video and you didn't have great sound. But what I found was that I was able to use different technologies to pipe the sound into my hearing aids, and more importantly, I found ways to get captions, subtitles, which are going alongside the video so that I can see what people are saying. What eventually worked out is we used Teams mostly, sometimes Zoom, but mostly Teams. And so now I get piped in sound and I get subtitles. And indeed, when they share a document, I can hear the sound, look at the document and see the subtitles underneath. So conversely, whereas it was very difficult face-to-face in a room, trying to hear people, trying to look at documents, when I work online, it's actually much easier for me. I'm getting better sound, I'm getting subtitles, and I can see the document people are referring to. And you know, people always use the telephone, and I can't use the telephone, I can't hear. But now people Teams call, which means I get the video so I can lip read, and I get the subtitles underneath, which gives me more information. So actually, the whole lockdown and working from home has made my life much better in terms of the quality of sound and my ability to work.